I am back with another World Coin video. This time we're going to look at some more carded coins. This is going to be a continuation of my last video where I had visited one of my favorite dealers, Dennis. At this particular show, I have two dealers I like a whole lot. One of them was sick, so I got to spend all of my money pretty much with the other dealer. And so I walked away with a lot of things, including 2 stacks of carded coins. And today we're going to go through this second stack. This particular dealer does price them a little bit better than the book price in a lot of cases. These are priced to move. But with that in mind, he almost never provides discounts over the price that's already on the card. And but this time I spent so much with him that he gave me 15% off the mark price. Most of these are going to have a price written in red, which is what I paid, like on this very first coin from Venezuela, which is priced at 20 cents. I have these coins sorted by the least expensive to the most expensive at the very end. And I looked up the price of all these coins on Numista just to see what the people who contribute to that website seem to think the value of would be for everything that we looked at today. One thing I like about this video is almost every coin we're looking at is something that is new to my collection. We have a lot of coins that have never been featured on this channel before going to show up in these videos. But that's not the case with this first one. This one is from Venezuela. It is a 5 centimos. The reason I'm pointing it out is the first coin of the last video, the version of this coin was from, I think it was 1984, and it was copper nickel clad steel. But at this point in 1977, it is copper clad steel on the 5 centimos from 1977. This video is going to feature a lot of coins from countries that you don't see very often, including this next one, which is from the Solomon Islands. This one is going to be the 1 cent from 1977. This side features a ceremonial food bowl. This coin was made by the Royal UK Mint, which does not give it a mint mark. If it had a mint mark, this was one of those countries where they made a lot of proof coins of it from the Franklin Mint. If it had a mint mark, it would be about right in this little spot right here. This is an FAO coin, so it was the United Nations organization to encourage people to grow more food. Here's where we have the portrait of Queen Elizabeth and the name Solomon Islands. And if you didn't catch it before, this is KM1, the first coin ever made for the Solomon Islands. This next coin is going to be from Nepal. There are Nepalese coins oftentimes have several similar looking coins that are hard to distinguish unless you actually sit down and figure out what it's saying. He didn't want to take the time to do that, so he put a couple of different possibilities on here. I scratched out the wrong one. This is catalog KM 1149. The actual date on it, since he was guessing at a range here, the actual date's going to be on our calendar 2001, but their calendar, the Vikram Samvat calendar, and I mispronounced that in the last video, the Vikram Samvat calendar is going to have a date of 2058. We're going to come over to this side. Here is our date of, that's how they write 2058. This is going to feature the royal crown, and the ruler at the time is Gyanendra Bikram Shah, who ruled from 2001 to 2008 on our calendar. And then we come back to this side, and it features, well, here's where it has the number 50. So that number that looks like a Y is their 5. And this is going to feature a temple on it. It is the Swayambhunath Temple, which is located near the town of Kathmandu. We have a coin from San Marino, and starting in the 70s, San Marino started reissuing coins again. Almost all of them were made mostly for to be sold in sets. This one is another FAO coin, so it's another one encouraging people to produce food, and the set would have come in a box with a nice large booklet that would have explained everything that's going on. But most San Marino coins are going to feature a different stylized design of the three castles with an ostrich feather coming out, or an ostrich plume coming out where smoke would be coming out of the three castles. The 5 lira here, made out of aluminum, it shows two people in a fraternal embrace, or a fraternal encounter, and the information was taken from the booklet that came with the mint set. This is to represent them being within the walls of the House of Life. It actually has the FAO initials going around this coin. This one was catalog KM53. And most of the FAO coins have a low mintage, and for most of them are way less than 1 million. Now we have a couple of coins from the Republic of the Maldive Islands, also called the Maldives. This one is a 2 lari from 1979. We see their coat of arms on here. This is very similar to the design of the coin they had when the Maldives was a sultanate. But at this point, it's now a republic. The Krause catalog said there was a version of this coin made in 1970 that was brass, but that was a mistake. This side, that is the national emblem. We flip it over. Here is the number 2. And I've had coins from Maldives before where I have pointed out this symbol at the very bottom. I just assumed since it was a series of islands, I thought that was a map of the series of islands. That is incorrect. That is actually using the alphabet that is the local speak there. The language is Maldivian, and the alphabet or the script is called Tana. And so that is actually a word in their language. But then we have another coin from the Maldives. This one is the 10 lari. It is a scalloped edge design. So we have the same symbol right here, but then we have a longer writing using that same alphabet. That does not look like something you could be able to read, but it's something they are able to read. Since they're islands, they're going to have coins with a traditional sailboat on it. And if you look at the bottom, there is a marine knot. This coin was only made in 1984 and 2001. As we continue to look at islands, this one is going to be from Seychelles. The 1 cent coin at this time features, it's either called a mud crab or a mangrove crab. This one is version 0.1 of the coin, which was only made this year of 1982 at the Royal Mint. And then 0.2 version of the coin was made from 1990 to 2004 at the Pobjoy Mint, where there was a redesign of the coat of arms here on the other side. I like the swordfish that are acting as supporters on this side. We're going to move to Kazakhstan, where we have a 1 tenge. Coin is dated 1993. The 3 characters right here form the mint mark. And I think that scratch, that was a hair, not a scratch on it. So the 3 symbols right there are the mint mark. We flip this one over. It is going to feature a stylized drawing of a wild sheep called an argali. This one was KM6. And I had this coin, but this one was an upgrade. Now we've got a 2-for-1 going on from Serbia. As it turns out, I had one of these and did not have one of these. So we're going to start with the brass coin here. This side features the coat of arms of Serbia. Shame we can't see all of it because of the way that it's stuck in here, but this one is a 1 dinar from 2005. This building shown here is the National Bank of Serbia. Catalog number is KM39. There are a couple of versions of this coin, and this one is the non-magnetic version. We'll come over to the 2 dinar, dinara, and a lot of these coin designs feature a look very similar to the last days of Yugoslavia, which the later days of Yugoslavia are very hard to find, but do feature the same buildings. This one is the Gracenica Monastery. And in 2003, instead of having the coat of arms of Serbia, instead it has the logo of the National Bank of Serbia. I wonder if that's supposed to spell letters or if it's just very ornamental, but it looks like I can see an H or a C or a D or other letters in there. So this one is KM35, and so up to 2003, the Serbian coins looked like this on the back, and then after 2005 going forward, they had that design with the coat of arms. This coin is something I've shown before, but it is really rare. This comes from an area inside of Indonesia. It's part of India called Irian Jaya. In your catalog, it's going to be listed under Irian Berat. And at this time, Indonesia was trying to make coins for specific regions of Indonesia, and Irian Jaya would be the western half of the island that they share with the New Guinea. So it's the western half of next door to Papua New Guinea today. This coin is going to feature President Sukarno. The value of the coin is 1 sen. It's dated 1962. This coin was actually given out in 1964 and was legal tender until 1971. But there was another region of Indonesia that also got their own coins, which looks, with what I've shown you so far, it looks identical to this coin. The difference was this Irian Jaya coin has nothing on the edge, which is kind of hard to see on here since it's in a flip. If there was writing on there, it would say Riau, meaning it was part of the Riau Archipelago, another area, thousands of islands that also make up Indonesia. Oddly enough, those were also dated 1962, but they were only valid as a currency for less than a full year. In the last video, I had a coin where there was kind of a debate on whether or not it should count as a coin from a country that you could that is part of their currency. And so this one's going to offer up a very similar debate. This is supposed to be a coin from Gough Island. And if you've never met someone from Gough Island, I don't blame you. It is part of an area called Tristan da Cunha. I guess it's pronounced Tristan da Cunha. So Tristan da Cunha has, I looked it up, has 220 residents. Gough Island, nobody lives there permanently, although there is a scientific research area on there where about 6 people live there for a short time, but they're not going to be spending coins. I mean, hardly anyone would be spending coins from Tristan da Cunha to begin with. So in other words, the whoever made these for the British made it to be purely a coin for collectors and never for the people that live there. However, it does have a Krause catalog number of KM1. It is a half penny, and so I've seen the birds on this side with different names. I've seen them called the Gough Martin, finches, or the Gough bunting. But Anyway, I did not have any coins from Gough Island. Gough Island doesn't have any coins to begin with. These were purely made for collectors, so I have to figure out whether I'm going to consider this a new country for my collection. I'll certainly keep it, but I'd like to hear what you think, whether this should be considered a circulating country. It was officially authorized by the people who oversee it, but no one actually lives there. Next, we have a newer coin from Liberia. And most of the time I see coins from Liberia, they are definitely tourist coins, but they have people there that actually need circulating coins. And so it was a surprise to find a new $10 coin. This coin was first made in 2022, and they also made them in 24. It says Republic of Liberia at top. And one of the first things I noticed on this $10 coin is look at the stars that are on the bottom here. So we have some latent printing, which is a new feature. I really like how coins are doing that these days. If you hold it like this, you see a total of 5 stars. But if you get it in the light just right, it's going to have, on this way, it's going to have L for Liberia, their $sign, and then the number 10. We go from 5 stars to $10. The person on here is going to be the first president of Liberia. His name is Joseph Jenkins Roberts. We flip this one over. We've got the number 10 on top of a shape of the country of Liberia. We've got the date of 2022 and a couple of stars on the side. At the very top, it says Lone Star Forever. And as an American, that sounds like something you'd hear from Texas, but actually that is the Liberian national anthem. Liberia also makes a $5 coin, which is very similar. The biggest difference, in addition to the number being 5, is that they have a different president. They have President Ray on the head side of that coin. We're going to move to another fairly new coin, this time from Argentina. This is the 2 pesos coin, bimetallic. And around the number 2 pesos, you'll see a symbol on here. Argentina celebrated their bicentennial in 2010, and so the pattern that goes around the number 2 is the logo of the bicentennial. And then we have some branches that go around the other side. This coin was made from 2010 through at least 2016. We flip it over, and this side again has the logo of the bicentennial on it. But then it also has the sun in the middle. And we're going to take a closer look at the sun, because in 2010, there was an interesting variety of this coin. This is called the normal eyes version, but there's another version where the eyes were much more prominent. It was called the bulging eyes variety, where it looks like the coin was following you wherever you were going, I guess. But the other difference is, if you look at this little button here on the side, it's divided into 4 sections. The bulging eyes variety only was divided into a top half and a bottom half, so it looked like it had a minus sign on it instead of a plus sign going through it. That's coin number 165. In 1960, the country of Mali severed their ties from France. And then in 1961, they issued a series of 3 aluminum coins, and they called them the 5 Malian francs. There were 3 coins in the series. The 5, like this one here, was the hippo. The 10 was a horse, and the 25 was a lion. That one is cam number 2. Next, we have a 20-cent coin from Australia. Here is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth. In this year, they were celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Australian Taxation Office, or I guess they call it the centenary. And so I don't know how people do taxes in any country around the world, but I do find this a little bit humorous that here in the United States, if someone were to make a coin celebrating the Internal Revenue Service, nobody would like that. And so I don't know if my friends in Australia feel the same way, or if there's something about the tax office there that people love. So be interested to hear about that. I've also seen tax office commemoratives in India as well. This next coin is a pure fantasy coin, and he wasn't completely sure when he wrote the flip, but this is a fantasy coin of the Easter Islands, which has the famous the carvings of the large face sticking out of the ground. Those are I think they're called the Moai statue. They're pretty famous, so famous that I don't know how to pronounce them, but I think they're very iconic. These are islands that I believe are administered by Chile. If you actually lived there, you would call it Rapa Nui. So that's why it's written on here. And I guess the island itself has a name by the locals, the Isla de Pascua. But we know it as Easter Island. It doesn't say Easter Island on here anywhere. But it just has a look like it's not a real coin. But we flip it over. It does have a value of 1 peso. And it's called a bonita fish. And a date of 2007. This was made by a company called Osborne Coinage, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. And since it's a fantasy coin, there were only 9,000 of these made, but it came out of a set where this is the one. They also made a 5, 10, 50, 100, 250, and 1,000 in the set. And so since it's a fantasy coin, you're not going to find it in the Krause Catalog of World Coins, but you are going to find it in the Krause Catalog of Unusual World Coins, where it does have a Krause number of X-1. So they give it an X number instead of a KM number. Next we have a coin from Ghana, dated 2003, 10 cedis. And we have the look of coins from Ghana at that time with the shield, a line in the middle of it with 4 sections in each corner. Then we flip it over and we have a family of gorillas. When I first got this coin, I thought it had an unusual matte-proof look to it. And there's a reason for that. This is not actually made by Ghana or authorized by Ghana. It is listed in the Krause catalog number with the number of KM36. Ghana did not authorize this coin. Instead, there was a Chinese company that made a set of primate coins. And they did this for several countries where they made a coin that looked like a coin from their country. And so the other countries that they did this, Bhutan, Djibouti, Kiribati, Madagascar, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. So it's, I think, a set of 8 coins here. And oddly enough, they fooled Krause in almost every time, giving them a KM number, except for the one from Bhutan, which did not get a KM number, but that one also, they figured it out and put that one in the same catalog of unusual world coins. And so I can't get a mintage figure of this, but Numista is really unreliable on something like that. So I didn't, when I factored the value of every coin when we look at the end, I'm not including the last one or this one, but someone did say this coin was worth $12 on there, and there was one sold listing on eBay for about that same price. So these might be in demand a little bit if you know about it. The other thing I want to point out about it is, I guess if China had done something that had made these countries mad, to help not make them mad, Ghana did not make any coins in the early 2000s until they completely redesigned their currency. They revalued their currency in 2007. So there was no such thing as a tensetti circulating at the time. This would have been a very low denomination. So it would be like in the United States making something a half of a cent today. So I guess that way, if someone brought these to Ghana and tried spending them, they'd find that it wouldn't have had any purchasing power. I'll give the Chinese credit for doing that in this set, that at least you're not counterfeiting something that was worth a large face value in that instance. Now we're going to move to a country that I always enjoy when I find one of these. It's from Nagorno-Karabach Republic, which you may have never heard of. The first time I found one of these, I had never heard of them, because it was not an officially recognized country by a lot of people. But it's one of the better non-recognized countries. And these coins, I do believe, intended to circulate there. For a while, it became known as the Artsakh, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, the Artsakh Republic, but it was an area within the country of Azerbaijan. And so apparently, since the last time I had made a video on this coin, the Artsakh Republic is no more. Azerbaijan has completely shut down their operation there, and Azerbaijan runs the entire country. But we can still find their coins from there. This one is a 50 luma, and it features an antelope. Oddly enough, I thought I didn't have this coin when I bought it, because my catalogs said that I didn't have KM24, but apparently the catalog since changed, and this is now, I do have this as catalog KM7. My catalog says this is KM7, not KM24, so I don't know where that changed, but it means that I think Dennis, who I bought these coins from, must also be looking at Numista, because they have it right. We have another coin, another 20 cents from Australia. So we've got probably the same portrait of the Queen that we had in the last one. This time it's going to celebrate the International Year of the Volunteers in 2011. However, it's the 10th anniversary of the Year of Volunteers. So to celebrate the 10th anniversary, we've got a plus 10 right here. So for the International Year of Volunteers, if you look at that, it looks like 5 people, and it makes the letter IYV. So it's a person with a head and just a body as kind of a stick on here. And then around the edge, we have a total of 45 people holding hands. And a couple of olive branches going around the logo there in the middle. So I did not have this coin, but there was an Australian $1 coin from 2001, which was the Year of the Volunteers, that looked very similar, but not quite. The logo of the IYV looked a little bit different that year. And then the only other country I know of that made a Year of the Volunteers coin was Canada in 2001. Their 10-cent coin also they also had a Year of the Volunteers circulating commemorative. This one is catalog KM 1634. Now we're going to move to a coin from Cambodia. During this time, Cambodia was called the People's Republic of Kampuchea. And this is the coat of arms of Kampuchea, which looks, if you saw my video of the unusual coins from French Indochina and Vietnam, I talked about a very similar coin on here. Several of the countries that made up Indochina at one point had designs that looked a lot like this, where you had a gear in the middle, a ribbon going around a wreath. However, some of the other countries had a star, where this coin from Kampuchea has the Angkor Wat Temple on it. And then they've got another unusual alphabet. This says the National Bank of Kampuchea in their Khmer script. We'll flip this over where we see that it is a 5 sen. The only year it was made was 1979. And the catalog says that it's made out of aluminum, but apparently it was really made out of magnesium-clad aluminum. So a lot of coins have a little bit of magnesium in it, but I don't know any that have as much magnesium as this one. We're going to move to Bolivia. Cam 186 is a 10 Bolivianos, so their currency at the time was the Bolivianos. It's written twice. It has it spelled out around the edge, and then in the middle it has the abbreviation B and a small S10. But the 10 Bolivianos was also given the nickname on this coin of one or un Bolivar. And we have an olive and oak branch that go around the middle here. This was the largest circulating coin up until 1963. And then on this side, we've got a hair somehow got in the flip. But this side does feature Simón Bolívar, the liberator of Bolivia. This is one of those coins that has a metal alignment, which means we flip it this way. We've got another coin featuring Queen Elizabeth on it. This one is dated 1980. We've got a Pobjoy mint mark right here. This is going to be from Isle of Man. And a lot of the coins from Isle of Man feature this three-legged symbol on it. That is the Triskeles. The concept here is wherever you throw it, it's going to land on a foot. Looking up this coin in the, when I look up this coin, it is catalog KM44. There are a lot of varieties of this coin. And in this year of 1980, there are 11 different versions, and it's kind of hard to keep track of them all. So as we go over some of the varieties here, coins from Isle of Man, one of the countries that has a die mark on it. Pobjoy Mint does that for Isle of Man and Gibraltar, and I'm not sure where else. If you look right here on the map of the island, there's an A, a fancy A, and a fancy B. So that is the die mark. So in this year of 1980, you can find AA, AB, AC, and BB. Other years you can also find AD and BC. But then something else that you would oftentimes find on whichever version of this coin is this one doesn't have anything, doesn't have any letters right here, but there's other versions where you can find TT for the tourist trophy. That is some kind of automobile competition they have every year. There's another one that says DMIHE, which stands for the Daily Mail Ideal Home Exhibition. And then there's also a DMIHEN, which is the Daily Mail Ideal Home Exhibition North. And so you combine all the die marks with all these possible inscriptions. There were 11 different versions. But in other years of this coin, there are other varieties, such as one year that took this large Triskelion symbol and put it in a tiny little circle right here. They only did that in 1979. I think they did that for all the versions in 1979. And that honored the 1,000 years of the Manx Parliament. Also that year, there is a version where the die mark was replaced with a couple of crossed oars to honor a boating regalia. Then in 1982, there is a version where the die mark was replaced with a baby's cradle, which honored the birth of Prince William in 1982. And then, out of all these, you can also find this coin in a silver proof, or gold, or platinum. One other thing to point out about this coin is there are 3 series of plain and then reeded sections around the edge. And then I don't know what that means that he wrote on there. So if you know what that means, let me know. Here's a coin from Guatemala. The half of a centavo of a quetzal. And I didn't have this coin, and to be able to find it in such nice condition, I really like that. He charged me $2.50 for this one. As we look at the other side, this is the look of most Guatemalan coins. So nothing particularly different on that one. There are a couple of varieties of this one. This one is 248.1. The 0.2 version is a lot rarer. It was only had a mintage of 64,000, and it had a very prominent dot right in the center of the coin, right there. This one has a dot that's just a spot in the brass, but it actually had a raised dot on the rarer version. So this one is dated 1932, and there was a mintage of 6 million, but half of these were really minted in 1933, and they just kept the same date on it. This one ties for the highest value coin, not including that one from Ghana earlier. Numista says this is worth $9 because of the condition. Now we've got a one-year circulating commemorative coin from France. From 1989, catalog KM 967. And some tiny words there in the bottom. The French call this the 200th anniversary of the Estates General. You see there are 3 people pictured here. At the time, France was going through a financial crisis, and King Louis XVI needed help to resolve this crisis, so he put together the Estates General, where he brought together a convocation of 3 societal orders. One of them would be the clergy, one would be the nobility, and then the third one was commonly called the Third Estate, which was essentially a collection of commoners. And so the people who were the clergy and the nobility, they were considered privileged class people, and then you had the commoners. And so it wasn't just 3 people coming together, but there were 3 different classes of people, so there are 3 people represented on the coin. So the king thought he would bring all these people together, and collectively they would come up with the solution to the financial crisis. The king's solution was to raise taxes, and the clergy and the nobility didn't have a problem with it. But since regular people in the Third Estate outnumber the privileged classes in real life, there were 300 clergy, 300 nobility, but twice as many, so 600 of people of the Third Estate that came together here. And they felt like each of the classes deserved 1 vote, at least the privileged classes did. But then the Third Estate realized that they could not win anything if the other 2 agreed on it, and they did not want to raise taxes, and so that caused them to break off the convocation. They broke away, they formed the National Assembly, and then a couple months later they stormed the Bastille, which essentially was what ended the monarchy there in France. And so that was that happened in 1789, and so this was the 200th anniversary of that. We flip it over, and they've used a throwback design. This is a lot what the French 1 franc silver coin would have looked like a lot to the early 1800s. Has 1 franc in the center, surrounded by some laurel branches. This one was KM 967. We're going to finish off today with a coin from British-controlled Cyprus. This coin is dated 1947, so we have King George VI on it. This coin was only made in 1947, and then again in 1949 they made it again, but they removed the references to being the Emperor of India across the bottom. This one has a pretty low mintage, so this one ended up being the other coin that books for $9. on Numista. This coin is a 2 Cyprus shillings, dated 1947, and this was minted in copper nickel. 1947 was the same year that the British 2 shilling, which they called the florin, also was no longer silver, and the first year they made that as copper nickel. So this coin has the same weight and metal content as the British counterpart, so it was able to be transferred 1 for 1. Oddly enough, the previous version of this coin was called the 18 piastres, and it was silver. And that seems like a strange number, but when the British came in and took over Cyprus, they were using a currency numbering system that the Ottomans had used, and so they kind of kept similar numbers. And so instead of a 2 shilling, they had an 18 piastre. Instead of a 1 shilling, they had half of that was 9 piastre. And instead of a 6 pence, they had a 4.5 piastre silver coin at that time. So that was really confusing to try and convert it. But they made coins that could be converted from the British to Cyprus. The 1 crown silver coin, which I believe was just a commemorative coin, wasn't called a crown, it was called a 45 piastre coin. But in 1955, they dropped the pre-decimal system and changed to a decimal system where the 2 shilling coin was then going to be worth 100 mils. Now, this coin, I had never seen this coin before, so this one has a pretty good book value. If you found it uncirculated, it would book for $70. So as I added up here at the very end, if you add up the sticker price of everything in this video, it added up to $32.10. With the 15% discount I got because I spent several $100s at his table, everything in this video actually cost me $27.50. When we look up everything in Numista, I am removing the fantasy coins out of here, and still everything else comes to a Numista value of $57. And I will say that usually most of the time, low dollar coins on Numista tend to be higher than the way they appear in the Krause catalog, and I don't know if that's because just everything's gone up in price in the last 8 or 9 years, or if people really think they're undervalued, or what that is, but I'm glad for that. There were really only a couple of coins in this whole video that had a Numista price less than what I paid. I like seeing that. So I will catch you in the next video where I have some more coins that I picked up at the same show from other dealers. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.